Sometimes video games just come out at the wrong time. Even if they're not necessarily bad games, bad timing can just ruin a game's perception. In this video, I'll be talking about what I think are 5 of the most poorly timed games ever released. With that being said, I am admittedly in a bit of a bubble when it comes to video games, so there are many other examples out there that I won't be mentioning in this video. And I want to make very clear that the games I'm about to talk about are not necessarily bad games. They just came into the world at the wrong time. So with that all out of the way, let's get started. I'll start this list off with something a bit more tame. Kirby's Dream Land 3 just always kind of baffled me. It's a numbered sequel to a Game Boy exclusive line of games, but was released years later on the Super Nintendo in late 1997. I mean, the Super Nintendo was pretty much considered dead at that point. And there's nothing specifically wrong with this game. I just don't get it. Kirby Superstar had just come out a year before, and in my opinion that's a way better game, so just why? It's got its own unique and admittedly charming art style, and all things considered this is still a good game. The timing of this just seems so weird. And as you can imagine, this game did not sell very well at all, unfortunately. There's really not too much else I have to say about Kirby's Dream Land 3, unlike some of the other games you'll see on this list which have much more of a story to them. I just thought it was still worth mentioning here for the baffling timing of its release. And I know it's a thing for Kirby games to be released at the very end of a console's life cycle, but it just seems different with the case of Kirby's Dream Land 3. But hey, if you want to try it out, it's on Nintendo Switch Online, so go for it. I don't think I've mentioned this much, but I'm actually quite a big fan of the Shantae series. They're fun games with interesting characters. Although I, like many other people out there, didn't really know about the series until long after the original game came out, because no one really knew that first game. The original Shantae was released in 2002 on the Game Boy Color, well after the Game Boy Advance had been released, and completely went under the radar. It's a shame too, because this game's actually really impressive for the Game Boy Color. I guess it just didn't have the budget for a whole lot of marketing, and the general audience wasn't really looking for new Game Boy Color games at that point. In fact, Shantae sold so poorly that original copies of the game have become quite rare. Damn! The developers, WayForward, didn't let that stop them though, as they went on to develop many more games in the series. Over time, the Shantae series has grown in popularity and now has the recognition it deserves. And people who want to play the original can get it on Switch for fairly cheap and not have to pay the insane prices for a Game Boy Color cartridge. I like when stories have happy endings like this. Okay, I'm sure all of you who watch my videos know that I like talking about Sonic. So naturally, something from the series has to make this list, right? Well, actually, yeah, there is one game that comes to mind. And out of all of the Sonic game disasters, the sad part is that this game isn't even all that bad. Well, from what I've heard anyway, this is one of the very few Sonic games that I've never played. So let's travel back to 2016. We had just experienced the disasters of both Sonic Boom games. Sonic fans were not happy, and despite the cartoon series not being bad, the Sonic Boom brand as a whole was not popular. So what did Sega do? Announce another Sonic Boom game that no one wanted! Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. Ugh, this did not go over well. I still remember exactly how I felt when I saw this announcement. I was just like, what the? Yeah, this game never had a chance. It was destined to fail from the start. And from what I've read, it sold horribly, so fail it did. The reviews for this game weren't too bad though. Not amazing, but decently good. From the looks of it though, I don't think I'll be going out of my way to play this anytime soon. Fortunately, the following year, 2017, ended up being really good for Sonic. Well, kind of. God, I hate Sonic Forces so much. I guess what you could call a casual Metroid fan. I've played through and completed a few of the games, and generally like playing them, but I don't follow the lore and stuff too closely. But for Metroid fans in the 2010s, I know it was rough. After Metroid Prime 3's release in 2007, there really wasn't much going on with the series. So by 2015, fans were really wanting a new major Metroid game. And what got shown at that year's E3 was Metroid Prime Federation Force. Instead of an epic adventure with Samus, this was some weird little chibi shooty game. Even as someone who's not super into Metroid, this was painful to see. I mean, the whole theme of this video is wrong game at the wrong time, which fits Federation Force perfectly. So yeah, obviously this was followed by quite an outrage from fans. And again, this is another game that was absolutely doomed from the start and sold horribly. I mean, Metroid's never really been a huge seller, but this one sold really badly. But hey, Metroid's in a great position now with the recent releases of Metroid Dread and Metroid Prime Remastered, and also Metroid Prime 4 is on the way. So Federation Force can kind of just stay forgotten like it deserves to be. Okay, I already mentioned that games that make this list aren't necessarily bad games. And this game that I'm about to mention is actually a pretty good game. I just wanted to make that clear. With that out of the way, let's talk about Mario. Mainline Mario games are typically something special. With games like Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Galaxy, these were known for being groundbreaking system sellers. But when the Wii U was failing and it needed that special Mario game that would wow everyone, we got Super Mario 3D World. This game didn't look bad, it just looked so safe. Like, it pretty much looked like an HD version of Super Mario 3D Land. Except Mario can now turn into a cat, which, yeah, that wasn't enough. The response to this game was very lukewarm. I personally felt no excitement for this game when I saw it. If this were coming out alongside a major 3D Mario adventure, this would have been received so much better. This was just the exact kind of thing that the Wii U did not need. Like I said though, this is still a pretty good game. I played through it multiple times and I enjoyed it. It reviewed really well and sold well enough all things considered. But this was not the game that was going to make people buy a Wii U, which badly needed a killer app at that point. And I don't think I'm exaggerating here. I think Super Mario 3D World is partly to blame for the complete failure of the Wii U. This game just came out at the worst possible time. Fortunately, with the Switch re-release, this game is looked upon much more positively now. People can see that while it may not be revolutionary or very original, it's a fun game with some solid level design. That can be a good thing, when the timing is right. So yeah, that covers what I believe to be 5 of the most poorly timed video games ever to be released. If you have thoughts about any of these games that I talked about, let me know in the comments. Or leave a comment with other examples of poorly timed games, because I know that there are a lot more out there than I covered here. Hope you enjoyed this list, and thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a hat-stackin' good day.